can keep talking on this all day. I'm just very excited. This has been a moment we've all been waiting for. So my viewers are asking what happened. In case you guys are not aware, the SEC just approved all 11 Bitcoin ETFs. All the top financial institutions of the world, including BlackRock, Fidelity, Invesco, Franklin Templeton, JP Morgan, all of these companies, Grayscale, they are all now approved to have an ETF on Bitcoin. And what this means is that the industry is cemented forever. Cryptocurrency is legit. The government is regulating it, and we are officially entering a new era of crypto.
Yeah, I think it was somewhat cute. Oh, we're here on Instagram.
We're going both. We're going both.
Okay,
you good there?
Yeah.
We'll just swap it back and forth.
Sure. So I mean, I thought it was kind of a cute move on Gensler's part, how he felt like he still had to disclaim Bitcoin in some way. I think there's a legalistic definition, but Gensler is also a master troll
for sure. And I don't want to I want to put out there that the SEC is a complete clown show. They do not protect investors. They do not protect consumers. And the only reason that this move is significant is because obviously these institutional bodies are regulated by the SEC.
Yeah.
So however, in the statement, when they approved all the ETFs, Gensler at the end of the statement said that the SEC does not endorse anyone to buy Bitcoin, which is just
it doesn't endorse Bitcoin as a currency,
which doesn't make sense. Is to why are they approving these things and then saying the opposite?
I have a feeling that Gensler was strong-armed into this. I feel like he was probably pushed into this by his congressional oversight.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had his job openly threatened on the congressional floor.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that this was kind of that between this and the court decision that said the SEC must issue a decision on these things that happened a couple of months ago is what forced their hand on these approvals. Is they were given a deadline to respond. And so that forced them to the negotiating table to find and finally give these applicants some clarity, which is something the SEC in this regime has historically not done for anybody in crypto, is give anybody clarity.
For sure. And the interesting thing about this is the fact that the SEC has finally done this. Now, why would these institutions want to legitimize Bitcoin? Why would they want to introduce it as a new asset class? Well, it's obvious, right?
Oh, it's the fastest growing asset class of the last ever.
Yeah, ever
for Wall Street. Anything that Wall Street's ever touched.
Bitcoin is literally digital gold. Let me repeat that. Bitcoin is digital gold. And I think the financial institutions know this. And there are a lot of players who got in early who are gonna, become really fruitful from this event.
Well, here's the other thing, and this is what we were talking about when we were talking about Jamie Dimon, that clip that you and I did.
Yeah,
went a little bit viral.
Yeah,
where we were calling him kind of a scumbag.
Yeah,
because he was sitting there trashing Bitcoin and crypto on the congressional floor with Elizabeth Warren. And I would get this mic a little closer to me.
Oh, want to know what's funny about that?
Okay, well, what is it? Sure.
What is it? Is this morning, our favorite player, Jamie Dimon, went on whatever news network it is and literally said that cryptocurrency and Bitcoin are only used for drugs, sex trafficking, and all of these things. Meanwhile, JP Morgan is the authorized participant for BlackRock's ETF.
Yes. This is exactly and this goes exactly back to that clip of us where you said he's a scumbag trying to tank it. I'm like, no, he's not a scumbag trying to tank it. He and all these other ETF filers, their motivation is that they need to be a part of the general investing public's grab at generational wealth.
Yeah,
because it's going to happen. I mean, like with or without the ETF, the bull run was coming anyway.
Yeah,
we're still on track for some version of that S curve from stock to flows model.
And the interesting thing is, like, we were already on the cusp of a bull run, but what kind of impact will this have on that? And I'm thinking tremendous impact. I'm thinking for sure we see 100K Bitcoin by end of year.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's by end of year for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a bearish.
That's a bearish.
That's the bearish
case.
scenario. Yeah.
I think that this kind of, I don't know, man. I can't even verbalize like how.
Well, so let's look at the numbers. And so I really haven't had a chance to sit down and analyze any charts today. But if anybody wants to do this homework at home, go ahead and jump into your Coinbase Pro account if you have one.
Yeah.
In just like any online crypto exchange, you can hover over the depth chart and see how much liquidity exists for a certain price point. Now, why did I say Coinbase Pro instead of Bitfinex or any of the other ones? That's because almost all of these ETFs are using Coinbase Pro for their custody and for their acquisition agent. So you can see that, well, BlackRock has committed to seeding their ETF with a $10 million Bitcoin purchase.
Unbelievable.
By the end of next month, I think.
Unbelievable.
So if they're going to seed a purchase of $10 million, you can actually go on Coinbase Pro and see what that will do to the price.
That's insane.
There's not $10 million worth of liquidity anywhere under 100K.
Will this inflow of capital happen all at once? So like tomorrow, trading's supposed to open for all of these ETFs. What happens?
Well, they're going to have to start buying Bitcoin.
And so the ETF issuers, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a spot fund. It has to be backed.
Let's break this down like technically, because I might not even be aware of this stuff. But so tomorrow trading starts, and we can assume healthy assumption is that these ETFs are going to be bought up. I mean, fucking 8.
Yeah. I mean, like, so the question here is, I mean, for sure, yes.
Yeah.
Like there's a ton of people that are like retail self-directed 401ks that are gonna. Here's why you would want an ETF that has Bitcoin in it in the first place. Why wouldn't you just go buy Bitcoin yourself? Because you have a 401k or an IRA, and you need to keep stuff inside of that. You don't want to go through the whole self-insured rigmarole of a self-custody.
Yep.
Which is a thing that a lot of people that are like extreme nerds want to do. But that's not most people. Most people just want to go into their investment account and hit buy Bitcoin.
Right.
Option does not exist.
Yeah.
So an ETF is primarily for people that want to have Bitcoin exposure inside of a retirement account.
Yeah.
There's a ton of people, aside from institutional investors or institutional retirement funded managers who are going to want to have some exposure to Bitcoin anyway. You're going to have the same people that do like Robinhood trades and E-Trade trades that self-manage their own retirement accounts.
Right.
They're going to want to go in and probably put 1, 2, or 3% of their retirement. So what is 1 or 2 or 3% of self-managed IRAs? I mean, this is a good place to have Frank answer that question.
Yeah.
What does that number look like?
Yeah.
Like if you had to guess, probably billions of dollars.
So does that mean tomorrow that these issuers are going to be buying Bitcoin?
They have to. That's what.
So how does this work? I'm a retail investor. I go on my Fidelity account. I see the option to buy Bitcoin now. I click buy Bitcoin. Now what happens to Fidelity?
Fidelity, Fidelity, who manages the Bitcoin fund, if they don't have Bitcoin in their own control already to back that purchase, right? They have they may have it sequestered in some other thing, and they can move it from one account to another. Say, okay, now it's backed. That won't move the market.
Yeah.
But once they run out of the Bitcoin they already own to put it into that fund, then they're going to have to start doing some market buys. And market buys will move the market.
And so when they say that Coinbase is a custodian for whoever, does that mean Fidelity now goes to Coinbase and says, hello, we need to buy 10 Bitcoin off of you guys?
Yeah, or whatever it is.
And then Coinbase still custodies that Bitcoin, correct?
Sure. Right. Well, in most cases, not every issuer
has a custodian.
They all have custodians. Not all, almost.
It's almost 8 out of 11.
Yeah, 8 of 11 are using Coinbase.
And I know one of them is Gemini, so that's 9 of 11. So that leaves 2 more.
Yeah,
who are probably using like Kraken or some random.
Yeah. There's a couple of off, like still big names, but like not.
So basically, that's what happens on the back end. I
think GBDC is doing self custody because they've got that license from Genesis that they can do.
Oh. So this is a license to custody, and what, these ETF issuers don't have that license to custody? Is that why they're not doing it?
They probably
don't even want it.
They probably could get the license fairly easily, but like They don't want the responsibility.
They don't want the responsibility, which makes sense because if one of these companies messes up, then they're fucked.
Yeah. All eyes on Coinbase right now.
Right. So Coinbase can't fuck up.
Yeah.
Because if they fuck up, it's game over.
Right.
I don't think they will. I believe in Coinbase. I used to be a little bit anti-Coinbase. Not anti-Coinbase, just anti-central exchanges. But I like Coinbase. I think it is as much as it can get. They are helping consumers as much as one would wish that a company that is supposed to help consumers
they have. I mean, Brian Armstrong. He's doing. Like if I was Brian Armstrong, and I could have been Brian Armstrong, because Brian Armstrong was just an OTC guy from Houston.
Yeah.
Around the same time I got into the business.
That's interesting.
But I was more about journalism at the time than OTC.
Making exchanges.
But so he comes from our subculture. Like he has his head in the right space, but obviously he's had to make, concessions in terms of regulatory compliance for Coinbase to get where it is today and survive.
Yeah.
Like, look at me. I went to prison. Brian Armstrong's the CEO of Coinbase.
Yeah. Yeah.
He compromised. Different things happen.
Different things happen.
So purists like me get to judge him for all the compromises he's made, but he gets to have billions of dollars in his pocket.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he's sitting at the top. Yeah.
So,
well, dude, I don't know. This is a historic day. I mean, tomorrow's going to be the real day when trading goes live. Like, what happens? Let's just play out a scenario, hypothetical. Okay. 8 a.m. trading begins Eastern time for my technical people out there. 8 a.m. trading starts to begin. All 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs are bought out to the max. All their Bitcoin is now bought technically because of the ETF. What happens then? The demand is not going anywhere. The demand will continue to be there.
Here's the question. And when people ask if things are priced in, that's a dumb question because obviously not everything is priced in. The question is, have the ETF issuers adequately judged the demand from their customers by pre-buying Bitcoin, or are they waiting for demand to come in and they're going to have to do market buys?
And they're just going to buy from the top.
I mean, they'd have to. They're responsible for buying it at whatever price they have to buy it for.
So let's say I'm a consumer. Let's break this down. This is a great session. I don't know how ETFs work. I understand you trade ETFs just like you trade a stock.
So an ETF,
exchange traded fund is what it stands for.
It'd be great again. Great if Frank is in here.
Let's call him up. Hey, Money in the Bank with Frank. Where you at?
But I texted him, want me to see if he can call in.
Yeah, I mean, if he might still be in the building.
Kidding me?
But
fuck yeah, we want him here.
An ETF, as I understand it, and as I have tried to understand it for years, is basically it's a fund that's responsible for holding a basket of assets that is on its prospectus. So like Dow Jones Industrial Average is an ETF, S&P is an ETF, NASDAQ is an ETF, and there's like a list of funds that they're indexing. So if you buy one share of any of those ETFs, you're buying also like what's happening behind the scenes is they're buying one share
of all of those companies.
And if you sell, they're also
selling one share of S&P 500, that's 500 companies. Every time I buy an S&P 500 ETF, then that means that ETF issuer is buying one stock of each of those 500 companies.
Right.
And then when you sell, they sell one of each of those 500 companies. So is this the same thing with Bitcoin? Is when I, as a consumer, go on my Fidelity app and I see Bitcoin ETF and I click that button, basically all that's happening is I'm buying a paper that says Fidelity owns
one Bitcoin, or a Bitcoin to the equivalent of
this dollar amount.
Yeah.
And I own that paper. When it's time to sell, you're selling at that price, right?
Right. And there's always someone on the other side of the trade, right? But they're buying at a certain price or selling at it, and you're selling at a certain price.
Wow.
Right?
So it's really simple, actually.
Yeah.
It's just like a stock.
It's just like a stock ETF or an equity ETF. Yeah.
You know, what's funny is I've been watching CNBC, right? What's the business one?
Yeah. CNBC and Bloomberg.
Yeah. CNBC, Bloomberg, whatever. And, you know, they're talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum now, just like it's a stock. And it's crazy to see how many years ago, They weren't even talking about crypto. And when they were talking about how big of a scam it is. Now the freaking tickers are on the like ticker things, you know, on the bottom, and they just show all the stocks. Bitcoin is a part of that now.
Well, it's been like that since about 2017, which is why you still see Ripple and Litecoin on that ticker as well. There will never be a Ripple or a Litecoin ETF, but because of the moment in time when Bloomberg decided to put it in their terminal, we're always going to see Litecoin and Ripple. And I guess never say never, but
I mean, they could remove it, right?
They could remove it, but they don't.
Yeah,
because that was the moment in time they decided to add cryptocurrencies to their Bloomberg terminal.
Well, it was probably a good idea. And looking back now, you know,
sure, right, yeah, and it's interesting to see, and I think ADA is on that list as well. Which like where are they?
Who's buying that? Man, I don't know. Like, I have nothing to say. Bitcoin's over 46,000. My friends are saying fuck you for telling them not to buy last week, and that's where we're at.
Wait, you told them not to buy last week?
Yeah.
Why?
Because, well, to be frank, I thought it was for trading purposes.
Yeah.
So I said, don't buy in at these prices. Like, we'll just make the ETH another way. But also, I mean, it's going to take some time for these things to go up, like for real, like from this price level to get a 2x.
Well, this is also, remember, this is when I said we're looking at $1 million Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, so the math behind that is, you know, analysts are saying there's $1 trillion worth of capital in people's retirement accounts.
I've heard more. I've heard multi-trillions of dollars going into this.
Right.
And don't forget, this is year one. This is literally January 11th, 2024.
Right.
By next year, we will have even more trillions coming in. And I'm sure there will be an Ethereum spot ETF, maybe a Solana. Hopefully not. It's a horrible, shitty chain. If they know anything about blockchain, they'll recognize that. But man, I wrote a 4.5-page article today. It was initially 6. I cut it down some. A 4.5-page article on the implications of ETFs in the presidential candidate and presidential election. Sorry, my mind is going 100 miles an hour right now. I'm so pumped.
I'm just trying to catch up with you with this.
I know. Fuck, right? Like the viewers must be thinking I'm off crack or something, dude. I'm off that Bitcoin ETF crack.
So let me just like he's legitimately excited. When the ETF announcement came through, he was parading through the green room,
singing the
Hallelujah chorus.
I mean, look, man, like ever since I joined crypto, we've always fought this battle of, is this thing legit or not? And today is a historical day proving that it is historic. I mean, that it is legitimate.
Yeah.
And it's proving it at the highest level possible. The biggest banks and the biggest capital equity firms are, you know, leading this charge.
Right.
I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. So I'm just ecstatic, man. Like, never will you ever have a conversation again where you need to explain the value of cryptocurrency. Yes, do I think there's a lot of garbage out there? No doubt. But Bitcoin and Ethereum will always be gold mines, you know?
This is the question that I think is going to be interesting to watch is, will we start to see, because you mentioned that, you know, the narrative is Bitcoin is digital gold.
Yeah.
Will we start to see the narrative express itself in market prices when it starts to look like a hedge against traditional market movements? So when equities go up, will Bitcoin go down?
That's very interesting.
And the converse.
And typically it's always been whatever the stock market does, it's amplified in the cryptocurrency market up until recently, in which the cryptocurrency market has kind of outperformed equity markets, although the NASDAQ did have an all-time high this year.
Hey, we got a Frank.
Oh my God, our financial advisor is here. Frank, it's here. We've won. The battle is won. The revolution, the cypherpunks. I've waited years of my life for this moment. My career change has just been legitimized in the eyes of every single person. I'm just so happy right now, Frank. We're so lucky to have you on the line. I hope you're having just as an electric day as I am.
Yeah, it's, you know, it is one thing is, I want you to remember one thing, for better or for worse. You are right here, right now, as a content creator, able to cover something that's probably pretty pivotal in this financial services industry. And you guys have been espousing it and leading the charge at the Texas Blockchain Council. You know, I'm actually excited to be able to not have to kind of dodge the question now, because we all know that there's a lot of people that have crypto and want advice on it and can't get it from legitimized places. And that's where you see a lot of fraud. So I'm really excited to see this. It's great.
Yeah, and this is funny, Frank. Our relationship started at a digital assets financial professionals conference where we were discussing many of these things, where you were explaining to me how difficult your job is right now because you can't talk about cryptocurrency. It's a very gray area. And that, it was like that for years, since the creation of this frickin' thing. How does it feel now that everything has kind of come full circle, and you're around our circles a lot, and this is all we talk about? How does it feel for you as a financial advisor now to be able to offer this to your clients?
Well, you have to remember that I think this is going to allow financial advisors to take the high road that we always take, which is you need to make sure that you diversify among not only securities and fixed income, but among all asset classes, whether it's alternative investments or land or what be it, right? Because we all want to diversify our wealth to some degree. Now, some people larger than others, but for the most part, at least now, I can have the conversation that, okay, yes, why don't we consider putting some money to work in an alternative investment? You want to look at crypto? Let's look at crypto. We've got a couple to choose from that don't require you to open a new account at some place where I have zero access to being able to see it, and have zero access to making sure that it's not too much or too little, in my opinion, of your portfolio, right? So I'm very happy that this happened. I think we all knew it was coming, and I think we all, I think the biggest problem with what happened yesterday was we knew it was going to come either today or yesterday or today or even tomorrow. It's come on, just get over it, do it.
Yeah.
Right?
So I was going to see if, because I'm sure I mangled the definition of how an ETF functionally works. I was wondering if you could explain that to our crypto people, just the principles of how an ETF works, so that they can kind of understand, from their perspective, how the knowledge of how that might affect the market.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to do this without building a clock, because it gets pretty confusing when you look at ETFs, ETNs, and mutual funds and managed products as a whole. But you can think of an ETF as a very efficient way to package, whether it be a specific number of stocks or fixed income, or in this case, you could have a gold ETF that's based on a specific amount of the currency. Like if you have $1 million worth of gold ETF, you're going to need to own $1 million worth of gold somewhere, right? And instead of having to take custody of it on your own, if you just want the exposure to the currency, then you can buy an ETF. In this case, it's going to be an ETF either with one of the majors. You've got Fidelity, you've got Cathie Woods, you've got GBTC potentially being able to flip over to an ETF. So you'll have the exposure, but just the purists like you who want to make sure that I have it and it's mine and I don't want anyone to take it away from me and I will go wherever I want with it. And then you have the people like me who all we really care about is I just want exposure to the currency as a hedge against what may happen. Someone's got it out there for me. Instead of me having to get a wallet, let me go out there and just buy an ETF, and that gives me the hedge that I need to make sure that I'm invested in cryptocurrency to some degree, right?
Right.
Because,
Frank, so Bloomberg predicts $4 billion of inflows just on the first day of trading tomorrow. What kind of impact does this have on the price of Bitcoin now that you can talk about this stuff?
well, it's the very easy question is what happens when you have more buyers than sellers?
Yeah. Right. Price goes up.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when people
This
say,
happens.
what's happening today? It's the best. It's the most dry, worst ever. It's why is the market down? More sellers than buyers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Okay. Fair enough. That's a good thing. But so the other question that Mark and I were just talking about, right?
Well, let me ask you guys a question,
Okay.
right? So we know, like, I don't know what the market cap is total of Bitcoin.
Shy of $1 trillion, I think.
Do. So if they need to come up with
It's 904 billion.
904 billion.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
so they're going to have another 4 billion that's going to have to change hands somewhere. Now, my question is, Chair Gensler, where does the SEC have their accounts? Because someone's going to be selling and picking up for
Right.
4 billion.
And who's the largest owner of cryptocurrency?
United States government. Yeah, there's going to be some well patronized Marshalls auctions in the future, I would assume, because they do have a crap load of Bitcoin
I didn't
coming
even
up for
think
sale.
about that.
But most of these ETFs, as we saw in the listings, are using Coinbase Pro and Coinbase Custody. So you have to assume that that's going to be like the first stop to purchase. I mean, it would be some easy math to kind of look at their liquidity. But the question, I guess, becomes, and this is where we were talking right as you joined, is how much did these funds precede or like put in the staging area of Bitcoin in anticipation of this money coming in versus are waiting to make market buys at this time?
That is a question I don't know the answer to. I know that we're going to get plenty of information as the day goes on. The one thing that I would say, and the one thing that I would be curious about on these particular moments, is take a look at, if you've got an account over at Coinbase, or if you've got an account at one of these places that's going to partner up with these potential ETFs. If they don't own the security, and if they're allowing like a hypothecation agreement at Coinbase that says that, whatever our coins are, you can use to borrow against. If they're charging like, 10% to like these big financial institutions, do what they do over at like Interactive Brokers. Call up Coinbase. I don't know who the different people or the players are, but call them up and say, look, you got a bunch of my money, bunch of my crypto. Do I get paid any interest or any part of that fee that you're going to collect? Because that's what they do.
That's probably what those yield instruments that Coinbase just introduced have something to do with. They're trying to
bet they do.
Yeah, increase liquidity.
Frank, I just want to know, like, what did you think when you saw that it was approved? Like, what went through your mind? I mean, we all knew this was going to happen for a long time, but the fat lady finally sung.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to know what I was thinking? Well, I was thinking yesterday at about 4:25 Central Time, so 5:25, when I was at the airport, not being able to do anything, that of course it happened today. And then I literally just got done with a client meeting, and so I got home and got the second one. So I said, of course it happened when I wasn't in front of a computer.
Of course.
So once again, I think the most realistic, oh my God, was yesterday in the airport when I said about time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think we all knew where it was going.
For sure. This is crazy.
I was in a staff meeting over here at Harper Belmont, and Ryan was asking me why I was playing on my phone as opposed to paying attention to what was being said. It's like, because they're announcing.
Wait, were you in a meeting when I barged in?
No. This was yesterday during the fake announcement.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Frank, you should have seen the scene today. I promised Mark as soon as this thing got approved that I'd come up there, and I came up there. I sang hallelujah, and we celebrated.
That's great.
Well, we're gonna have a roundtable on Friday, right?
Yep.
Cool. Let's.
We also just spent all morning talking about this with Frank and like trying to get out the news about the hack, but now I've cut production on all that. I'm like, let's just focus on this.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the hack? Oh, the hack on the Twitter account, right? Yeah.
The SEC hack.
Yeah.
We should definitely talk about that, because I have some theories. I mean, that was for sure market manipulation. There's no doubt.
Yeah. If you look at the Bitcoin chart
if you look at the Bitcoin chart,
it's clearly
somebody dumped right as it was happening.
Yeah.
And then they bought.
Yeah. Let's come like on Friday. Let's come together. I'll get the timestamps. We'll reconstruct a forensic accounting of what happened. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well,
Perfect.
Frank,
And just in case anyone wondered, I have it at home too.
Good. We had no doubt.
Show us again, Frank.
All right, guys. I'll see you on Friday.
All right.
See ya, Frank. Thanks for joining.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm just going to be repeating most of what I said. So that's a wrap for me. Like, my energy levels are insane right now. I had a whole evening planned, but everything went out the window. I'm going home and I'm sitting on my computer for the next 12 hours.
There you go.
Yeah. So
it'll be fun. I'm not gonna get that. I mean, I'm as leveraged as I could possibly be, so I can't.
yeah, that's fair.
I couldn't possibly be any more leveraged.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, guys, historic day. I'm glad this is like in the archives. This is on record, like forever. We were here on this historic day. Like this is a fucking turning point.
Any comments coming in that we need to address before we call it a day?
I mean, not that I'm really seeing. I'm just seeing a lot of like Bitcoin. Kathy Wood just said in a Spaces her bull case for Bitcoin is $1.5 million per coin in 2030.
Yeah, see that
Is she nuts, or is this just like basic
in
supply and
2030?
demand? Yeah.
I mean, I think she's being, that's a conservative estimate. 2030 is a ways off.
Yeah. Well, not really. It's 7 years, not 7, 6.
Yeah. Okay. Again,
A lot can change in 6 years.
again, if just keep in mind, all right, every analyst that talks about this is saying there's $1 trillion worth of latent capital. Now, it doesn't say what time frame that is. So
Yeah.
maybe 2030 is the $1 trillion timeline, but $1 trillion coming in equals $1 million Bitcoin or more.
And let me end with this. We are
But on the other hand, Kathy does make some pretty bullish predictions.
She does.
I just
She
think
does.
that's conservative in that light.
And just to end this, let's not forget, in about less than 100 days,
Yep.
Bitcoin will halve. I'll let our viewers decide what that means.
Okay, I'm trying to decide. So for our viewers, what does this mean to them? Yes or no? Buy right now at this very moment.
Yes.
Not financial advice,
Not financial advice.
but like if every analyst is telling you the price of Bitcoin is going to go up. So if you want to have participation in that upside, you go with what the analyst advice is.
Or if you're a skeptic like me and you don't want to listen to the analyst, you can do basic math. If there's X amount of Bitcoin, X amount is in supply, and there's X amount of demand incoming. It's very basic supply and demand.
Every economic indicator, every market indicator is saying that the price of Bitcoin is at least going to go up in both the short term and the long term, because
For sure.
you've got, like you said, that $4 billion
Inflow of capital.
inflow of capital is the estimate in the next 24 hours. So you've got
the Bitcoin halving.
but you to be add to that in terms of a short term indicator.
He's buying
He's
right
buying
now,
it
for
right
sure.
now. There's also
Look at him. Yes, you are. Who's the viewers? The viewers are you.
Well,
well, the open interest indicator on the futures funds are also saying that everybody's long.
Everybody's long. If you're short, I'm sorry for you. You're gonna get liquidated.
well,
And it's not by me.
I didn't realize I was on the screen right there. So Frank gave his 2 cents on this twice today. Mark, you buy Bitcoin straight up, you go
Wait,
obviously straight up.
Which Mark, boss?
Both of you. You go to an exchange or wait for the ETF or buy a spot like Grayscale GBTC right
for
now.
sure.
What do you do?
I'm for sure trying first over the counter with somebody I know. Just because this is a peer-to-peer currency, and then I'd go to an exchange, and if that fails, then I'd go to the ETF.
If at this moment you don't already have a wallet set up, like you're not going to figure out the intricacies of a crypto wallet between now and when the price of Bitcoin is going to go up. So buy it however you can buy it.
Yeah.
But if you already have a handle on self custody, that's the best way to go. That's my best advice.
Nice.
I'm so fucking pumped.
Can people expect to see us again tomorrow?
Yes.
You're gonna do Web3 Ready tomorrow, because we got a lot of other topics we're going to talk about, right?
Oh, I guess.
We got the AI stuff.
Yeah, it's up to you. We can roll that over into the roundtable. It's solely up to you.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
figure it out.
Keep an eye out.
Keep an eye.
We'll have some programming for you
Keep an
tomorrow.
eye.
There you go.
Pumped.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.